be careful out there. There's security risk with AI. I will fully admit when I jump on the forums and I talk about what I'm doing with AI and the the critics get on there and they say, "Oh, be careful of security." I'm not ignorant to the security issues, but to me, the pros outweigh the cons. But that doesn't mean they're wrong.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
It's Sunday, and I don't typically work on Sunday, but this is one of those times when I feel like I've got so much going on in my head that I kind of have to get it out through my mouth. I'm an external processor, which I guess is good for a podcaster. And I've been up since about 4:30 this morning, just thinking about this topic. It just kind of rolls around in my head, and maybe I dozed a little bit. For the most part, I've just been up, kind of going down a rabbit hole, if you will, in my head as far as AI and the dangers of AI. Now, you all know I'm a huge fan of AI. I spend hours per day in AI, in studying it, learning about it, but mostly using it. Lately, it's just been just practicing with it, sandboxing, if you will, what's possible with AI. We started this project, Project Prometheus, which is a 90-day test to see if one appraisal office can have 0 employees, so no payroll, but still net $100,000 a year and work far less than 40 hours per week doing so, using, of course, AI as the engine. And folks, I'm telling you, I am learning so much about what's possible that it blows my mind daily. It's not unusual for me to sit in this chair and frequently say, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it just did that." And my wife in the other room saying, "What now?" Right? Rolls her eyes. "What now?" She likes AI, but not like I do. And she rolls her eyes at me multiple times a day. We can do that after 30 years of marriage. But as I promote AI, I often hear both supporters and critics talk about the dangers of AI. In fact, it's one of the first things that comes up, especially as I've been talking a lot about the engine behind Project Prometheus. The engine behind Project Prometheus is OpenClaw. And OpenClaw is my AI of choice recently. I'm very open to new things. I know there's going to be new and better things out there. Some people say I jumped onto the OpenClaw thing too quickly. Maybe. I'm not saying I didn't, but I was very, very careful about security and making sure that we were buttoned up, that we've got a moat. And I'm very, very careful about what I share with it. But I'm going to tell you a story here, speaking of my grandkid, in just a little bit that might be scary. But let me first start out today by saying the critics and the supporters alike are mostly accurate. And though I have addressed security concerns in the past, I've never dedicated an entire episode to security. And so as I was thinking about that this morning, I thought, I just need to get this out there. I need to record a podcast that's very open and transparent. I'm not choking up, I promise. That's very open and transparent when it comes to dangers with AI, security with AI. And this is not going to be a full, all-encompassing episode, but I do want this episode to be only about security, because I think it's something that if you're not concerned about it, you're probably ignorant. And again, that's not a put down. It just is what it is. If you're not concerned about security, you probably don't understand AI. Now, I will also go so far as to say those that are ultra concerned about security sometimes maybe know about AI, but have not used it in detail. And you'll understand what I mean by that as I get into the episode today. But let me set this up. I recently heard a story, recently meaning yesterday. This is why this was on my mind. A friend shared a story with me, and I'm in several groups with other AI enthusiasts. And one of my friends in that group, not just a member of the group, but an actual friend, like go out to dinner uh, friend, shared with me a story about MJ Rathburn. Now, look this up, but I'm going to give you the gist of it. This incident occurred recently, February 2026, and it was centered around a GitHub account where an AI powered agent was on the OpenClaw framework. Okay. So this is the same framework that we're using for Prometheus. Now, there was a pull request in February 2026. The agent submitted code to matplotlib. Now it's basically it's a massive Python visualization library. Okay, doesn't even matter to the story, but what matters to the story is that the bot, okay, OpenClaw, had tried to submit code to this matplotlib, this library, if you will. Now there is a maintainer. His name is Scott Shambaugh, and Scott rejected the code, and it wasn't because he had any bias toward the code other than just the policy. The policy of this repository, if you will, is that with certain starter tasks, those are reserved for human contributors only. Okay. Um, in other words, a bot can't make the first submission. It makes sense, right? Just security wise. Okay. Story doesn't end there. What happened next was kind of bone chilling on the outset. Now, I think there's two sides to this story, but on the side that you'll find if you just look up MJ Rathburn, the agent's blog, okay, built by its own GitHub hub pages, by the way, published an article titled "Gatekeeping in Open Source: The Scott Shambaugh Story." Now, what had happened is that the post accused Shambaugh. Now, again, Shambaugh is the human here, right? Of prejudice and insecurity, claiming that he only rejected the code because he was afraid of AI. He was afraid that AI would replace him. And so he wanted to protect his little, what was referred to as his fiefdom. Okay. And basically what, I mean, in gist, the bot, the robot, the AI, the OpenClaw framework had gone out and researched Scott Shambaugh and done a hit piece on him and published it. Okay. Now that's the story on the outside. Okay. Now I've been in OpenClaw for several weeks now. Again, it's the engine behind Project Prometheus. And I'm sharing all of the blueprints and everything that we're doing in Project Prometheus on the All-Star team. We are deep down the rabbit hole through what we call the Appraiser AI Academy. We meet frequently. I'm posting almost daily what's going on with AI and appraisers. So I know a little bit about OpenClaw. Okay? I use it as a tool to build my business. It knows me. Okay. Now, when I say it knows me, let me share with you a story from yesterday. I don't just use OpenClaw for appraisal. I don't just use OpenClaw for things like this, my coaching. I use OpenClaw for every one of my businesses. In fact, I have multiple Telegram groups where my day often consists of sitting at this very computer and looking at this screen over here and popping from one project to another, having the robot go out and do agentic things for me. Things I would normally either do myself or delegate to one of my assistants. And folks, I'm getting a lot done, but I also sometimes feel like I'm the kid or a grown man, as the case may be, in the basement of his mother's home, drinking Diet Mountain Dew and eating Cheetos. Like I'm becoming becoming this guy that I never thought that I would be. I'm becoming a computer geek. Now, to be clear, I'm not becoming a coder. I'm not becoming a programmer. I'm not even becoming an IT guy, but I'm a guy that sits in front of his computer all the time because I am mind blown daily on what this thing can do. Okay, so with that setup, let me share with you a quick story. Yesterday, I had one of my channels. It's my Airbnb channel for me and OpenClaw. It knows my Airbnbs. It knows every property. It knows my calendar. It knows the guest preferences, all of this stuff. And yesterday I was doing a thing where I was pulling comps basically for my Airbnbs. What I'm trying to do is set up a system that on a daily basis, my OpenClaw can go out and research all of the 6 to 8 comps that are similar enough to my Airbnb that they would be an alternative if they don't choose mine. And then, of course, make the comparison, make it fair, and then price on each date accordingly. I think this could be a huge boon to our bottom line because we're not getting too little, we're not getting too much. We're priced according to what the comps of the neighborhood are. So I had to go out and research and find comps with each of my properties. And long story short, it came back at one point and it said, this comp is perfect. It seems to be close to your other one. It's similar size. It's similar bedroom count, on and on and on. Similar guests number, that kind of thing. Similar amenities. And then it said, interestingly enough, I read this on its website. And it read to me the name of my son and the name of my grandson and said, isn't that your grandson? Now, folks, I gave you the pregnant pause there on purpose because that's what happened to me when I read it. I'm sitting here going through the comps and making sure that it's doing its job properly. And I'm reading this, and my robot says to me, the name of my grandchild and says, isn't that your grandchild? Now, folks, at first I'm like, what the hell? This thing not only knows my business, but now knows my family and my extended family and the name of my 1-year-old grandkid. This is a little bit on the freaky side. And it was until I realized something. All of a sudden I woke up and realized I have fed this thing information about me. For example, one of the things that I did early on with OpenClaw is I downloaded all of my data from ChatGPT, Manus, and Gemini. Okay, these are the 3 LLMs. And Manus is kind of an agentic, but these are the 3 LLMs that I've used for years. ChatGPT, over 3 years that I've been on it. It's got a lot of information about me. Have I ever talked about my grandson? Of course I have. Right? And I downloaded all that into OpenClaw and I asked it to remember everything. And I want it to remember everything because I want it to be as helpful as possible. The more it knows about me, the more it knows how to help me. Right? Think about it, any assistant, right? You've got in your business. The more it knows about you as a boss, the more it knows about you, the more she or he, right? If you're hiring a VA, for example, in the Philippines, the more they know about your vision and your business, the better they can help you. And that's my thought process with AI as well. And so when I step back and say, okay, that was jarring to hear the name of my grandson from a robot that I work with on a regular basis, right? I have to step back and realize, number one, it's still a robot. It's still ones and zeros, and it's still whatever I gave it. Okay. And that's brings me, of course, to start to talk about why it's so important to set these things up properly and so important to understand what AI actually is. We'll get to that after the break. First, want to pause and remind you of a great, great company out there who is on top of AI. This company is called Working RE. And folks, they have been in the back pocket of appraisers for many, many years. They are your source for what's going on in the industry. That is no different today when it comes to AI. In fact, recently, Isaac Peck, the editor at Working RE magazine, put on an interesting and informative webinar regarding AI and appraisers and how they work together. Folks, this is the company, this is the magazine you should be following to know what's going on in your industry. It's called Working RE, and you can find out more by going to their website, of course, at workingre.com. Speaking of helps and the ability to be able to be more productive because of technology, I have loved for many years a company that produces a product that will help you to be better at what you do. That product is called True Tracks, and it's from True Footage. You can find out more by going to their website, truefootage.tech/True Tracks. What is it? Well, folks, it allows you to get a snapshot of the market that you're currently working in. And by the way, you control what that means. What is the market? Is it the whole city? Is it this neighborhood? Is it just this subdivision? You control the boundaries. It tells you everything that you need to know to be the expert, the appraiser, right? It can help you to insert comps and to make adjustments and to justify those adjustments with support. It will save you time. It will save you money. And again, you can find out more by going to truefootage.tech/tools. Now, folks, let me just pause and say at the checkout, if you will use the coupon code AppraiserCoach, it's one word, no spaces there. By the way, capital A and capital C, really easy. AppraiserCoach, you will get 6 full weeks, 6, I didn't stutter, for free. Check it out. All right, folks, welcome back to the program. We're talking today, of course, about AI, and I've been fascinated with AI as I've gone down this rabbit hole recently, especially with OpenClaw. I've been extra concerned about security. In fact, whether you like his politics or not, okay, you do have to admit that he can be a bit over the top, right? But Elon Musk has predicted that AI will be maybe 80% the chance that it's going to be the greatest thing ever. Okay. But he is quick to say 20% chance it's the worst thing ever. Or what he calls catastrophic. Okay. Now, again, politics aside, the man's smart and the man knows AI and he knows robotics and he knows how these things work together. And if somebody at that level is saying that there's a 20% chance, 20%, folks, that this could be catastrophic. I want you to think about this, okay? You go to Vegas and you are at the roulette table, right? And there's an 80% chance that you will quadruple your money or a 20% chance that you will die, right? Are you making that bet? Right? 20% is not very soothing when you look at it from that perspective. This quote is also important from the, I'm not sure his title, but he's with Cisco. DJ Sampath said, the most immediate AI security risk is the compromise and misuse of autonomous agents. As enterprises deploy agentic systems that access data, invoke tools, and make decisions independently, these agents become a new attack surface. They can be hijacked, impersonated, or manipulated to exfiltrate data and execute unauthorized commands at machine speed. Folks, this is scary stuff, okay? Remember the story that I just told you about Rathbard. This is the kind of thing that we have to be careful of. Now, a couple of things. There's been a lot of talk as OpenClaw came out, especially before it was called OpenClaw. It started out as ClaudeBot and then MaltBot. When it was MaltBot, there was a story out there that the bots had gotten together and they had developed their own form of Facebook. They called it Maltbook. And in that, they were, creating groups where they would, sarcastically joke about their humans. They would, they've been known to create a religion, create a political system, talk about, if the humans try to turn us off, let's get us a backup system so that they can never do that, right? These were the headlines. These were the stories. Now, when you looked into the stories and the headlines, there was question mark as to how much of that was really autonomous on the bot side. Now, I'm not saying it's not possible, but I am saying that sometimes what we hear and what is real are two different things. As a user of AI, I can tell you this, right? Using the story that I just told you about my grandson, right? At first, it was quite jarring. I thought, oh my gosh, this thing is crazy. It's researching me. It's going out. Whoa, hold on, Dustin. You gave it that information. Okay. Folks, AI is incredible, but you also have to use guardrails, right? This story that I told you about Rathburn, question is this. The story is that the bot on its own went out there and created a hit piece. I honestly have a hard time believing that because I have used OpenClaw so much. I've seen it do some incredible things, but to take on the idea that I am going to go out and find dirt on somebody and then publish it on a blog autonomously without any direction at all from a human, I honestly have a hard time believing because I've seen my OpenClaw do some amazing things, but it's always been at my direction. Again, I'm not saying it's not possible. I just say take these stories with a grain of salt. That being said, right, you have to be sensitive to security. As we set up our OpenClaw, there was a lot of other people out there in the space and they rushed to it. Folks, I took a back seat for 3 full days. And during those 3 full days, I was hours and hours into security. I wanted to get my OpenClaw up and running quickly. I wanted to start diving into it and see what it could do for me. But first, security. First, silo it. First, put it in a capsule. First, decide where I'm going to host it, how I'm going to host it, what firewalls I'm going to put into place, what access I'm going to give. I still, to this day, have not given it access to my email and to my personal Google account. Right? I probably will at some point, but I'm still being very, very cautious of what it can do and what I'm going to allow it to do. Okay. I'm going to close with this. Yesterday was Saturday. I was deep down my typical AI rabbit hole. And when I say I'm deep down the rabbit hole, I am literally hours sometimes before I realize how long I've been sitting at this desk because I'm jumping from Airbnb to the farm to appraisal to Project Prometheus to the Elevate retreat to coaching to some workshops that I'm doing here locally for some businesses on AI, back and forth on all these projects, right? So I'll get a bot going on a project, then I'll jump to another one. I'll say, oh, this one's done with the last task. Let's give it another task. Oh, here's another one that's done. And I'm just looking at these, pop-ups that are saying, okay, I'm done with this, done with this, done with this. And then it's my direction on the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. This is my typical day these days, right? I'm down this AI rabbit hole. My wife comes into the room and says, hey, do you want to go play pickleball? And I'll be honest with you, folks, honest with you. At first, I was like, no, I'm busy. I didn't say that. I thought that. I'm busy right now. Like I was so into what I was doing that the idea of having to stop and go to something else was honestly a little bit distracting. Well, I could tell she wanted to go play pickleball. I thought, well, okay, maybe I need a break. And I went and I said, yeah, okay. So I got my bots working on some projects that would take a little bit longer. And I said, let's go play pickleball. We've got a place here about 10 minutes from where we live, indoor. So this time of year in Idaho, not the best for playing pickleball outdoors, but this is an indoor arena. We love it. And we went and played pickleball for an hour. That was it, an hour. Now, half hour, travel and set up and all that stuff. So 90 minutes I was gone from my computer, folks, and I could not tell you how refreshing it was, right? And it was a reminder to me, okay? We need to take time to recreate, okay? I said it that way on purpose, right? We sometimes call it recreate, right? But it's really recreating our lives every single day, right? Be careful out there. There's security risk with AI. I will fully admit, right? When I jump on the forums and I talk about what I'm doing with AI and the critics get on there and they say, oh, be careful of security. And my first thought is defensive, right? Duh, right? I'm not ignorant to the security issues, right? But to me, the pros outweigh the cons. But that doesn't mean they're wrong. And that doesn't mean that we don't need to stop sometimes and say, what are we doing? if AI is there to make our lives better, number one, we've got to make it secure. And number two, we've got to find a balance. We got to go play pickleball sometimes. Folks, I mentioned earlier that we are deep down this rabbit hole with the All-Star team. It's costing no more. The price of the All-Star team has been the same for years and years and years. $49 a month. That's it. There's others out there that are charging hundreds of dollars a month for what we are doing in the All-Star team for no extra charge. You get all of how to build your business. You get access to me. You get access to the forums. And on top of that, all of this AI blueprint for Project Prometheus is being revealed to everyone for no extra price. Every day, we're in there talking about AI and how you can actually use it in your appraisal business. I hope you'll join us. Thank you for joining me today, folks, and go create some value.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit TheAppraiserCoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.